How to save your relationship or get an ex back fast. If you have a man who's pulling away, losing interest, perhaps he's already broken up with you and you want to pull him back, make him reattracted to have a loving, long-term, and deeply committed relationship with you, then this is going to help so much, this process. I'm Brody Boyd with Magnetize Your Man, and for over 20 years combined with my wife, Antia, we've been helping thousands of successful women all over the world to get the relationship they crave. So let's go ahead and dive into this powerful secret to use with him right now. This powerful process is called the big apology. If you want to repair, restart, or improve a relationship with a man so that he cherishes and devotes himself to you, the most important thing you'll need is to increase your magnetic feminine energy. Now, masculine-feminine polarity is the only thing that creates strong and lasting feelings of chemistry, attraction, passion, love, and devotion in a relationship long term. Now, we will teach you magnetic feminine energy in our other advanced courses. However, one of the most powerful things you can do to be more in your magnetic feminine energy is to simply stop the old masculine energy behaviors. That is because masculine energy is about doing and feminine energy is about being. So a big component of feminine energy is to stop doing the masculine communication and behaviors that may have been pushing him away in the first place. In order to begin this process, it can be very helpful to complete what we call the big apology. Now, the big apology consists of 5 main steps. Number 1 is identifying all of the ways you've been in your masculine energy in the relationship. Number 2 is to forgive yourself and him fully for those behaviors and the things that may have led to them. Number 3 is sharing with him the top ways that you've been in your masculine energy in the relationship. And number 4 is apologizing for the top ways that you've been in your masculine energy in the relationship. And number 5 is giving it up to him to respond to your apology however he will. Now, I'm about to share with you exactly how to do and complete this process with specific detailed examples and scripts in just a moment. And I also want to let you know that this process is not about taking all the blame onto yourself or making yourself wrong in any way. Relationships are a two-way street, and of course, there are likely a lot of ways that he has also let you down, screwed up, and made mistakes of his own in your relationship. This process is instead about you simply cleaning up your side of the street fully and making sure that you take account for how you may have contributed to the relationship being in the place that it is now. That way you can take ownership of that, correct it, and have more awareness to make sure that you do not engage in those masculine behaviors in the relationship moving forward. The big apology will also help clear the air with him and help him to feel more understood, appreciated, caring, and open to you. So if you really want to save your relationship and turn it into the best relationship that you can possibly have with him, then let's begin this powerful process with step number 1. Step number 1 is identifying all of the ways that you've been in your masculine energy in the relationship. In order to complete this step, you'll need to get out a piece of paper or your phone and start writing down all of the top ways that you have been in your masculine energy in your relationship up until this point. You will need to dig deep and think of any and all of the ways, the top ways and specific moments that this may have happened. Now let's go through a few examples now here to help you with writing these down for yourself. Now write out on a paper now, are there any ways or situations that you feel that you have been disrespectful to your man at any time? Examples of masculine behavior are there any other ways or situations that you feel that you have been critical, blaming, shaming, emasculating, controlling, or mothering to your man at any time in your relationship? Now, I'm going to give you some more specific examples here and try to hear them out with an open mind as much as possible without going into self-blame or closing up. We have all done these behaviors at different times in our lives with others, especially when we felt hurt, neglected, or unsafe. Pause this video if needed as you go through them and make your own list of specific big ways that you may have done any of these in your relationship. Examples of masculine behavior. Times when you've criticized him for things that he has or hasn't done. Times when you've interrupted or spoke over him. Times when you've tried to control, manipulate, or lead him. Times when you've tried to compete with him. Times when you've complained about things that he is or isn't doing. Times when you've dismissed his decisions, opinions, help, or advice. Times when you've refused to let him lead in the relationship. Times when you've spoken negatively about him to others. Times when you've compared him to other men. Times when you've challenged him in public. Times when you've crossed his boundaries. Times when you've invalidated his feelings or thoughts. Times when you've blamed him for your emotions. Times when you've emasculated him by directly or indirectly calling him weak, stupid, unmanly, or inferior. times when you've used sarcastic or passive-aggressive comments towards him, times when you've treated him like a child or mothered him, times when you've accused him of being untrustworthy, or times when you've accused him of not being a good man or not caring about you. Now, here are some additional specific examples to help with this as well. Criticizing his decisions. He took you to a restaurant he picked, but you didn't like the atmosphere. What you said: "Why did you pick this place? It's so loud here. Next time I'll pick where we go." Impact. He seemed hurt and withdrawn afterward, like you had taken away his ability to lead and made him feel incapable. Complaining about him to others. You were upset at him and vented to friends and family about how he wasn't stepping up. What you said: "He never helps around the house. I have to do everything myself because he's so lazy." Impact. When he found out, it likely hurt his pride and made him feel disrespected. Publicly shaming him to others only widened the emotional gap between you. Checking his phone or social media. You felt unsure about his loyalty and decided to go through his phone or check his social media for signs of infidelity. What you did: without asking, you scrolled through his messages or social media comments to see who he's been talking to. Impact. He felt betrayed and that his boundaries had been crossed by the lack of trust. It sent the message that you didn't believe he was trustworthy or honest with you. Taking over planning. He suggested a weekend plan, but instead of following his lead, you changed everything. What you said: "I don't think that plan is going to work. I already made us reservations somewhere else where I feel it would be much better for us." Impact. He got quiet and didn't seem excited about the weekend anymore, probably because you took over and undermined his leadership. Correcting him in front of others. You were at dinner with friends and he misremembered a small detail in a story he was telling. What you said: "No, that's not how it happened. It was actually last Thursday and you weren't even there when the discussion happened. You always get these things wrong." Impact. He seemed embarrassed and you noticed the energy shift as he felt undermined in front of others. Distrusting behavior. He was out with his friends and you kept texting him, asking where he was and when he would be home. What you texted: "Where are you right now? Who are you with? You're not staying out too late, right? What time will you be back?" Impact. He became distant and you could tell that he felt smothered, as if you didn't trust him to handle himself, his time, or his decisions. Solving problems for him. He was talking about a challenge at work and you jumped in with solutions instead of letting him vent. What you said: "Why don't you just tell your boss you can't do that, or reorganize your schedule so that it won't take up so much time?" Impact. He got defensive and the conversation became tense. You stepped into a mothering role, trying to solve his problem instead of trusting him to figure it out. Mocking his interests. He was excited about a new hobby and you dismissed it with sarcasm. What you said: "Oh, great, another one of your little side projects. You always start these and never finish them. How long will this one last? A week?" Impact. He shut down after and didn't mention the hobby again, probably feeling disrespected and belittled. Bringing up his past mistakes. During an argument, you threw his past mistakes back at him, even if they had already been resolved. What you said: "This is just like last time you forgot our anniversary. You always forget about our important moments like that." Impact. He felt judged and shamed, like he could never escape his past mistakes. Bringing up old issues destroyed his sense of resolution and trust. Micromanaging his tasks. He was doing a household chore like cleaning or cooking, and instead of letting him finish, you kept hovering and correcting him. What you said: "You're not doing it right. Let me just do it. I won't have time to fix it afterward." Impact. He likely felt inadequate, as though he couldn't do anything right in your eyes. By micromanaging, you place yourself in the mothering role, treating him like a child. Trying to control his spending. He wanted to buy something for himself, but you stepped in to manage his finances. What you said: "You really shouldn't spend money on that. You need to be more responsible with your finances. Honestly, I don't know how you manage without me." Impact. He got quiet, and you could sense that you overstepped by treating him as if he couldn't manage his own money or your collective finances. Giving him the silent treatment. After a disagreement, instead of talking it out, you ignored him completely to punish him and show that you were upset. What you did: you didn't respond to his texts or calls, and you refused to talk to him until you felt he deserved it. Impact. He felt confused and disconnected, unsure of how to resolve the situation. The silent treatment created emotional distance and made him feel powerless. Correcting him while driving. He was driving, but instead of letting him navigate, you constantly corrected him on his route or driving habits. What you said: Why are you going this way? This isn't the fastest route, and you're driving too close to the car in front of you. Impact. He became irritated and withdrew, feeling like you didn't trust him to handle something as basic as driving. Criticizing his friends. He mentioned plans to hang out with friends, and instead of supporting him, you criticized the people he spends time with. What you said. Why are you still hanging out with those guys? They're immature and a bad influence on you. Impact. He felt disrespected and defensive, like his judgment and social circle weren't good enough in your eyes. This could lead to resentment and emotional withdrawal. Insisting he follow your routine. You wanted him to adopt your routines or habits, like working out or eating differently, and kept pressuring him. What you said, you should really start working out more like I do. You'd be in much better shape if you followed my weekly routine. Impact. He likely felt pressured and judged, like he wasn't good enough the way he was. This kind of pressure can create distance and make him feel controlled rather than supported. Remember that these are just examples. There may be things that you have said or done in your relationship with him that are much worse or much softer than the examples given. So you'll just need to think about what those would be for you and your relationship with him. Pause the video if needed and write down what those top items were, examples or situations that you have for yourself, that have been for yourself now. So now that you've made your own list of the times you may have done any of those behaviors with him, read through your list and star, circle, or highlight the top 4 to 6 items or events that are the most significant or most recent times that you have done any of those things with him. Take a breath. We're making good progress. Now, I know this can feel painful or difficult for you, and you may want to go into self-blame or blaming your man, but we've got you covered, and let's go into the next powerful step of this process now. And by the way, if you found yourself engaging in any of these types of masculine behaviors with men in the past, then I highly recommend that you also take our free Magnetize Your Man quiz to help you with that, so that you can shift into your feminine and get a loving, long-term, and committed relationship fast. So you can get that by going to our website at magnetizeyourman.com or clicking on the link in the description or the comments below. Now, step number 2, forgive yourself and him fully for those behaviors and the things that may have led to them. Now that you've created your list and identified the top 4 to 6 items or situations, we now want to release and forgive yourself and him for these masculine behaviors that may have happened. The best way to do that is to simply read through your entire list and then after each item pause and say to yourself, I forgive myself for that and I know I was doing the best I knew how at the time. You had never taken any of our courses or got coaching to know about these things and the damage that they were doing to your relationship at the time. And now that you have these insights, it's time to forgive and move forward powerfully in your relationship. The other thing that can happen with this is that you may want to start blaming your man or your man for having caused you to do these masculine behaviors with him. Now that is why we also want to do a process of forgiving and releasing him for these items as well. This isn't about giving him a free pass. It's about freeing yourself from the bonds of resentment or the triggers that may have caused you to move into your masculine energy consciously or unconsciously in your relationship with him. Now, the best way to do this is to simply close your eyes if you can, visualize your man, and say to yourself, I fully forgive you for the things you may have done or not done that led me to be in my masculine energy, and I choose now to fully be in my magnetic feminine energy moving forward. It may also be helpful, since we're at it, to forgive anyone else, friends, family, society, your parents, etc., who you feel may have contributed to you being more in your masculine energy in your relationships. You're doing so great. And now this leads us to step number 3, which is sharing with him the top ways that you've been in your masculine energy in the relationship. So now that you've made your list, you've done your best to forgive yourself and forgive him for the things that may have led you to be in your masculine energy in your relationship, it is now time to share those exact things with him. Introducing the big apology. Now, this big apology conversation is best to have with your man in person or over the phone, where you can both be fully present and uninterrupted with each other. Now, the first best thing to do to set this up is to send him a text message and ask, may I ask if we could talk in person? Or you can text him, may I ask if we can talk on the phone? If he has any amount of care for your heart and is not a deeply broken man, also depending on what has happened between you both up until this point, he will very likely be willing to meet in person or at least talk with you on the phone. If he is not willing to meet with you in person or talk on the phone, that is unfortunate, but you can still have this conversation over text, although it will likely be less effective, but that is better than nothing. Once he says yes, then you can ask him when and or where would work best for him, and then you can meet or call him at that time. When you have your meeting with him, you can start by catching up with some small talk, such as how are you or how's your day been going, or some light banter. Then you can say to him, so the reason I wanted to talk with you today is I've recently been thinking about how I've been showing up in our relationship, and I wanted to share some things that I've become aware of, if that's okay with you. Then he will likely say, sure, and then you can go into the next part of your big apology. So you then want to share with him the top 4 to 6 things that you've seen as the biggest areas or specific past situations that you've been disrespectful, controlling, blaming, critical, or mothering towards him from your masculine energy behaviors list that you made earlier. You can recall those items or situations during your conversation with him from memory, or you can pull them up on your phone, a new piece of paper, or from the actual paper that you wrote them down on earlier. Then you can say to him, so some of the things I've done in the past that I'm not proud of are, then simply share with him those top 4 to 6 items that you've listed as the biggest areas or specific situations that you were in your masculine energy with him in the past. I would recommend keeping your share to just those top 4 to 6 items that are the biggest or most recent incidents, so that you don't overwhelm him or yourself with the entire list of things. You can always go into the rest later if he asks for them. And now, if you've shared those with him, that leads us to the step number 4 of this process, which is apologizing for the top ways you've been in your masculine energy in the relationship. For this part, after you have shared those top 4 to 6 areas or situations, you can then pause to see if he has an initial response. If he does, then you can respond to that. If not, then you can then share your apology, such as, I just wanted to share those with you and say that I'm sorry for all of that. Then pause and let him respond. This is key. Now, this will likely not be an easy process on your ego, and there will likely be a huge temptation to want to go into justifying why you did those things or covertly blaming him for having led to you to be that way or to do those things because of him and his actions. You want to avoid doing this and instead be as vulnerable, open, receptive, and detached from the outcome as possible, which is key for magnetic feminine energy. Committing to the process and detaching from the outcome means taking these action steps and sharing all of this with him in the most open, vulnerable, and feminine way possible. And then letting go of the outcome and the results of that, letting it be whatever it may be, which brings us to our final step number 5, which is giving it up to him to respond to your apology however he will. This means that after you share all of this with him, simply pause, give him space, and let him respond however he will while being detached from the outcome. You've done your first big part to clean up your side of the street, and now you have to give it up to him in his healthy masculine energy to respond however he will. Likely he will be silent and simply absorb what you shared with him. He may cry, he may be super happy, he may get angry, he may say he needs some space to think about what you shared, or he may give you a big hug and kiss you all over. We don't know how he's going to respond, and likely he may not even know how to respond himself, which is fine. Likely he will have a lot of different emotions stirring up inside of him, and he won't be exactly sure how to process them or what to do with them. It also isn't your job to help him with that. That would be being his mother or being his therapist, which would be masculine energy and disrespectful behaviors again. All you need to do now is just let him process what you shared and be open and detached from the outcome to be available to however he chooses to respond to your feminine energy. If you've let him sit with it for a while, you can say one additional respectful prompt for him as well if needed, such as, can I ask what you think about all that? Or, can I ask for some help with what I shared? This can then encourage him to go into his healthy masculine energy and protector, provider, hero mode. Regardless of how he responds in the moment, just know that you have planted a powerful seed that may take a few minutes, hours, days, or even weeks to start bearing fruit. But you have already laid the groundwork to potentially start dramatically shifting your relationship and having him start showing up with much more care and devotion towards your heart. He may ask you more questions or start talking about more specific issues or situations that you brought up, which is fine as well. You can discuss those with him as needed. If you do, try to be as respectful and open with him in your magnetic feminine energy, just like you're learning here with everything else in our advanced courses and coaching. When you really have learned and mastered magnetic feminine energy and magnetic feminine communication, You will be able to handle any situation or conversation with a man with ease and grace by knowing how to properly share your feelings, problems, needs, and requests. Another thing to mention here is that after you have shared these things with him, he may still not trust that it's real and that you are now magically a brand new, more respectful, and magnetically feminine woman. This is understandable, and it may take him some time and seeing more of your ongoing actions for him to fully buy into this new and improved version of you. This is why this conversation is now just the starting point to build your new foundation for your relationship and to actually be in your magnetic feminine energy with him moving forward. By continuing to use what you are learning from us, you will continue to inspire him to be in his healthy masculine energy moving forward, showing his true care, passion, love, desire, and devotion for you and your heart, which is also why we recommend highly taking our free quiz as well. And that's also why we recommend using our Magnetic Feminine 90-Day Challenge so that you can continue to be in your high-value magnetic feminine energy with him moving forward to build and keep his trust and have him start showing you the same level of care and trustworthiness as well. Now, through this process, you have now demonstrated to him that you are committed and willing to shift yourself so that your relationship can shift. And that is what will often inspire your man to shift as well and come closer to you from a new place of maturity, love, and desire. Moving forward, it can also be very helpful to do a mini version of this process with him whenever you've noticed that you did or said something to him that was coming from masculine energy or was disrespectful. This will also help you to be more aware and accountable so that you don't do any of these masculine communications or behavior that likely had pushed him away in the past. An additional bonus and extra credit would be to complete this process with anyone else significant in your life that you feel you may have been operating with disrespectful or masculine energy with as well. And now it's up to you. We'd love to hear how this process goes for you in your own relationship, and know that we are here to fully help and support you to have the best relationship of your life possible, no matter what. Hope this was helpful. Much love, and I look forward to talking more very soon.